Okay, so we're about to start our shoot. Now remember, we're inspired by the work of Javira Estrada, and you can see me here on her website looking through some of the shoots she's done, some really amazing compositions, beautiful colorations as well, which are very exciting to see. On top of that, I've been recently inspired by milk bath flowers as well. So you can see how milk is poured into a white bath and then flowers are added. So here's my flowers. In my bath, I've put about 2 centimeters of water, cold water, and then arranged my sweet peas taken from my garden. Now you can get these flowers from anywhere. It doesn't have to be sweet peas, but what I have considered is the coloration of these particular blooms. Now, a couple of things to consider, as you can just see in the video, there's my reflection. So when you are shooting in water, try and avoid reflections where possible. You can see in this particular room, I chose it because it's great lighting. There's my Velux window. And I did actually turn the lights off because the spotlights were creating too many reflections. So be mindful of that when you are taking photographs. You want a kind of plain background where possible, but don't worry too much because a lot of these aberrations can be removed post-edit. Once you're happy with the layout of your flowers, adjust the composition as you need to, and then photograph. Get some simple ones just with the water in the background for your first few shoots.
Okay, so I'm now at the stage where I want to start adding milk to the water in the bath. The milk itself is going to become semi-translucent and it's going to intermingle around the flowers, which is great. You put a lot on, it's going to show up more. You put less on, it's not, but it is going to tone down. So particularly these areas here, it's really going to tone them down if it's on here, and some of the colours if it implies itself onto them. Again, my flowers are fairly submerged, just checking they're under the water. And then you can pour the milk on. So it is experimental. If it works, brilliant. If it doesn't, try something, learn from it and do it again. So don't worry if your first couple of shoots are a bit off or you're not happy with them, if you find yourself refilling your bath up a few times. But once you get the hang of it, you're going to get some really interesting effects. Remember, you can do whole shots like this, but I would also recommend coming in a bit closer and getting those kind of macro shots with a bit more detail. Again, with my phone, I can get so far, but once I've gone too close to the subject, particularly with this phone, it'll go out of focus. So again, for me, it's about here, it's as close as I can get, but still very interesting in terms of composition and colour. So here's the milk. I have got my crafty UHT milk, there we are, exciting, from Asda. And I'm going to pour a little bit of this on, and then I'm going to take some photographs. Now in the experimental stage, I've got the milk poured, I've taken a couple of photographs of that, we've done the plain water as well, and now it's time to add some of these. Now, to make it easier in your bath, especially if you're doing this one-handed or if you're lucky enough to have a tripod, this will be a bit easier for you, but I've put a little tub in the bath just so I can sit on the colours that I've got to use today. Now, these are food dyes, and you can get them in little bottles like this, so nice, or you can get them in little tubs, and I've got a range of different ones, as you can see. Very, very strong food dye will dye your fingers, so just be mindful of that. And what I'm going to do is gradually introduce some of these colours into my floral composition and see how they blend. So at the moment I've got a little bit of this pink or yellow or orange on my finger, and you can see how once that's introduced into the bath and milk solution that you can get some really, really nice and abstract qualities with that. Again, reminiscent of our artist that we're looking at as well, which is good. So back over to here, we have flowers. Now I'm going to use for this one, I'm going to pick out some of the pink in here, and although you can't see it, this is very, very strong blue here. So that's the pink, I'm going to use that blue there. I do have some other things that I'm going to experiment with, like this shimmery powder, which looks very exciting. Okay, but we'll see how we get on. Okay, so flowers, fingers in the pink, or you can dip it in or use the end of a teaspoon like this. There we are, that's quite handy. And then I'm going to add that into my composition. So a little bit around here, and a little bit around there, a little bit around there, and a bit there, a bit there. There we go. Okay, and now I'm going to go in with a little bit of the yellow. Although it looks orange, it's not, so it's quite yellow this one. So again, use the back of a teaspoon like this. Just a bit of that. A little bit in there. Bit of there. There. Bit there. Okay. Okay, so as your composition is developing and you're introducing further colour, again you can backfill sections with the coloured dyes to change or warm up a section. You can then still overlay darker colours within there and you'll get kind of a smoky effect. You could use a cocktail stick for this, as well as a spoon. You could use a paintbrush, whichever really, whatever you've got to hand. Of course the dark colours are going to make a lot of impact as they start to kind of billow out. And you can use that to darken certain areas within your composition, like that. And highlight the negative space, which is the space around your floral arrangement. So I'm going to take in a lot of that pink, that blue in there, just to kind of darken that down. And I'm going to aggravate this flower here. It's too high up. Oh, that's lovely, isn't it? And then I'm going to maybe introduce a little bit of pink on here as well. Okay, so at this stage your fingers might be a delicious work of art. Hello. But again, don't give up. Anything that you do or any little accident you make, you might find something unusual in there. So as you do move around the water as well, you can introduce other elements. I've got a sea here of orange that's sort of floating back into my now strange looking potion. And you can see as I'm bringing that in, you'll get a nice sort of gradient effect. You can also just get the colour and dab it straight onto the flowers. You can get some close-up shots of those. Add a little bit of a swirl into the water if you want to. And then of course you can still apply more milk as well. Okay, so on this one, whilst I've still got the colour in, so I've got this lovely teal that's made up, I've added in a contrasting pink. And this is just some shimmery powder that I've got to hand, but if you've got a bit of glitter or anything you want to add in there, you could do. Again, still experimenting, still trialing. I've got some talcum powder, or you could use flour or corn flour and see how that changes your composition. Can you see? So you've got some really, really nice abstract effects going on here. So I'm going to take some photographs of those. Okay, so I think at this stage I'm quite done. I'm really happy with the photographs that I've come out with so far. I've taken quite a lot of them, so I can then have a flick through, maybe select my 3 or 4 favourite images from this photo shoot and then do some editing. Now to edit, I'll be using Snapseed on my phone. I might use a little bit of Lightroom that I've installed again for free on my phone, just to see kind of what kind of images I can make from this photo shoot. So I do hope that helps, and I'll add in some of the photos that I've edited straight after this video. Like